I know what you're thinking, another random guy on YouTube telling me how to take care of my money, but trust me, if it wasn't for these videos on YouTube, I wouldn't be where I am today. It was not too long ago that even I was in a pretty crappy financial situation. Back in 2021, I was in debt about $50,000. I just graduated after completing my masters and I was looking at this mountain of debt. And if it wasn't for these YouTube videos and the solutions and motivation I found in them, I could not have gone from being in debt to having a sizable portfolio of different assets. So no matter how bad your financial situation is, I can totally understand what you might be going through. And hey, maybe your financial situation isn't that bad. You're just looking to improve and get to a better place. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the steps that I followed to unfuck my money situation. The steps I'm going to share in this video are going to be quite useful for you no matter where you are in your financial journey. The steps are quite easy to understand. They're also quite easy to follow, but where it gets difficult is that you have to follow them for many years to come. By the way, if you want to know more about why I had so much debt, comment below and tell me what you would like to know exactly. I'll try to make another video about it. For now, all I hope is that you can get some value from this video. Let's begin. Okay, so let's assume you're in a bad money situation or you're looking to improve. What is the first step that you need to take? It is to face your financial reality. The first step to fixing your money situation is to actually understanding what the situation is. It's time to get real about it. And to be honest, this is something you should be doing quite regularly anyway. We'll talk more about it later in the video. Okay, time to get a good picture of your financial reality. Start by gathering all your financial records. Your bank statements, bills, loan documents, credit card statements, and anything else that you can think of. Make a list of all your debts, credit cards, student loans, car loans, and anything else. Make sure to write down not only the balances but also the interest rates. It's going to come in very handy while prioritizing which debts to pay off. Next, make sure you make a note of your total monthly income after taxes. Also make a note of your monthly expenses, separating needs like housing, food, utilities from wants like entertainment and dining out. Earlier this year, I made a full video about how to conduct your own financial review. It even includes a free template that you can use to get this started. Feel free to check it out, download the template and start using it today. So you might be somebody who hasn't really been tracking any of your expenses. Don't worry, just try to average it out for the meantime. Over the next couple of months, you might have to start tracking it to make sure that you have a good understanding of what your expenses are. While you're doing this exercise, make sure you're accounting for any old bills and any payments that are still due. Once you have all the numbers in front of you, you'll truly understand what you're really working with. Now, this is where it starts to get scary and uncomfortable at the same time. It's not going to feel good looking at those numbers. Trust me, it's not going to feel good looking at those numbers, but you have to face the reality. This is your financial ground zero. This is where you'll build up from. One thing I want to say is that don't judge yourself at this point, and absolutely don't let others judge you either. Just try to make sure you're facing the facts more objectively. Step 1 is quite important in understanding where you are today, and it can be very empowering and helpful when it comes to creating the right and realistic plan for you. Okay, so now you know your numbers. What's the next step? It's to create a bare bones budget. So what does a bare bones budget even mean? It means that you account for only your needs and absolutely none of your wants. It's time to strip down your spending to the essentials: housing, basic utilities, groceries, transportation, and minimum debt payments. This is the time you cut out all non-essential spending for now. Dining out, entertainment, shopping, subscriptions, and memberships are some of those. Trust me, this is going to be a temporary situation while we focus on paying off the debt. Okay, it's time to address the fact that it's not really easy to create a lean budget right off the bat. It might take a few tries to nail this down, and trust me, I've been through the same process before. In fact, I remember that back in 2020, I was running these experiments to see how low can I bring my necessary expenses. I remember I started at about $1,500 and kept reducing it by $100 for 5 months or so. At the end of it, I think there was one month when I only spent about $1,000. Now, I really didn't have to live like that, but what I really wanted to understand was, what does my bare bones budget look like? Try using Google Sheets, or there are a number of budgeting apps that you can use to plan out your income and bare bones expenses. I'll link some of them down below. The idea is that every dollar that you get from your job should also have a job. That means every dollar is going towards necessities, minimum debt payments, and possibly a small emergency fund that we'll talk about pretty soon. Trust me, this part is not easy and it's going to take some time to really nail this down, but make sure you do not give up. Again, stick to the plan, eyes on the prize, and you'll turn things around pretty quickly. Now, I just spoke about the emergency fund. That brings us to step number 3, that is build a $1,000 emergency fund. Well, you must have heard from a lot of people, watched a lot of videos, and even read online that emergency funds are absolutely necessary, but it really depends. For example, if you're somebody who's very close to their family and can lean on them in case of an emergency, you probably don't need an emergency fund during this time. In an ideal situation, you're better off having an emergency fund though. Now, as it sounds, it's basically a financial buffer kept aside just in case something happens. Trust me, emergencies can really derail you and push you away from your goals. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to open a separate savings account for your emergency fund. Automate monthly transfers into it even if you start small. If you want, you can also sell some of your unused items around the house to boost your savings faster. If you're somebody who can pick up extra shifts or do side jobs to get to $1,000 faster, do it. The main job of an emergency fund is to keep you moving forward and make sure that you can go through the next steps. Talking about next steps brings us to step number 4, that is use the debt snowball method. So what is the debt snowball method? It's basically that you have to list down your debts from smallest balance to largest, and then you start focusing on paying off the smallest debts first. There's another method called the avalanche method, which basically focuses on paying on the largest debts first. I think the snowball method works a little bit better for a lot of people because it can give you a sense of accomplishment pretty early in your journey. No matter which method you follow, it doesn't matter. What really matters is that this step is all about debt repayment. And whether you choose to go from smallest to largest or largest to smallest, you have to make sure that you're making the minimum payments on all your debts or as many as possible. What we really don't want is that more interest keeps piling up. During this phase, you should make sure that any extra money that you get also goes towards debt repayment. I remember when I was paying off my debt, any bonuses or tax refunds were also going towards debt repayment. If you follow the snowball method, you'll slowly see your debt go away. It'll build momentum and motivation for you to take on even more. I really don't have to tell you this, but the best way to prioritize your debt is actually from highest interest to lowest interest. No matter what you do and no matter how much time it takes, make sure you stick to the plan until you can pay off all your consumer and high interest debt. The next step that we are going to talk about is actually not a successive step, but something you do throughout your journey. That is to live frugally without depriving yourself. As the previous steps have shown us, paying off your debt requires you to live frugally and well within your means, but that doesn't mean total deprivation. Trust me, cutting out all fun spending is going to be a recipe for a burnout. Make sure you budget for small, inexpensive treats that can keep you motivated. For example, you can find free and low-cost ways to have fun. These could include game nights at home, hiking and picnics, free community events, or even potluck dinners with your friends. You should also look for frugal substitutions, for example, homemade lattes instead of Starbucks. Look for some free books instead of buying off Amazon. By the way, during this time, thrift stores aren't too bad either. In fact, I know a lot of people who enjoy shopping at thrift stores. During this phase, treat frugality as a means to an end and not a way of life. Now, it's perfect if it suits your life. Financial minimalism is a great way to live. I remember when I was paying off my debt, it was a little easier for me because I was really into working out back then. All I needed was a cheap gym membership and I could have a lot of fun. And because I was really into the healthy lifestyle, I didn't eat out a lot and could experiment a lot with minimal healthy meals. Try doing this in different aspects of your life. There's always a balance that you can find. Unfortunately, during this time, you'll have to say no to a lot of things and your friends as well. But if they are your friends, they'll truly understand what you're trying to do here. Now, we have looked at the first 5 steps. If you follow these carefully, you should be able to reach a place where you do not have any more debt. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, hit like and consider subscribing. It's really not been easy growing this small channel. If you support me, maybe I'll get better faster. The next steps that we are going to look at should ideally come after you have paid off your high interest debt. However, if you want to start doing some of these in the meantime, that's also totally okay. Honestly, when I was paying off my debt, I was also doing some of the next steps that we're going to look at, starting with step number 6, that is increase your retirement savings. Ideally, with your debt eliminated, you should start supercharging your retirement savings as soon as possible. Having a big retirement savings really depends on how many years you can truly stay invested in the markets. Now, one of the main reasons I said that you can start doing these parallelly to the other steps is because often we have employer matches as well when it comes to retirement savings. If your employer offers a 401k or RRSP match, contribute enough to get the full match. That is basically free money and something that employers account for when hiring you. Now, if you're still paying off your debt, this should be the bare minimum that you should do. However, if you have paid off your debt, it's time to move on to other retirement accounts as well. For example, in the US, you have your Roth IRA, and in Canada, we have our RRSPs. During this time, try to save at least 15% of your income towards your retirement. And if you have fallen behind on your retirement contributions, trust me, you most likely have. Even I have. In that case, we should just try to catch up as much as possible. The more money you save, the better your life will be as you get older. But there are also investments beyond your retirement savings. That brings us to step number 7, that is invest for the future. Beyond your retirement account, start investing in regular brokerage and tax sheltered accounts as well. One good way to start is to look for low cost index funds that can track broad market indices like the S&P 500. Did you know that the S&P 500 has returned over 10% over the last several decades? It's almost impossible to beat those kind of returns investing on your own, and impossible if you put your money in a bank. In fact, if you're putting your money in a bank, getting the basic interest rates you're basically losing your money to inflation. However, make sure you consider your risk tolerance and time horizon when choosing investments. Generally, the longer your time horizon, the more risk you can afford to take on. If you're younger, don't shy away from experimenting with stocks, crypto, and Bitcoin as well. That's what I do right now. But at the same time, make sure you're playing it safe with a large portion of your investments. If you really want to dabble in Bitcoin and crypto, make sure it's never more than 5 to 10% of your portfolio, and that's not financial advice. When it comes to more serious investments in your investment accounts, make sure you're using as much automation as possible. Yes, I know investing is a whole topic in itself, and I have several videos about it. But to put it simply, stay the course even when the market gets volatile, and over the long run, consistent investing always pays off. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of what we have discussed so far. We started by discussing that we need to conduct a financial review. Then we spoke about creating a budget for yourself and following it. Then we looked at how to pay off your debts. Then we spoke about your retirement savings, and now we have looked at investing as well. So what comes next, or what more can we do? This brings us to step number 8, that is to increase your income. Now there's only so much that you can do to cut down on spending. At some point you need to start figuring out how can you boost your wealth by increasing your income. This can come in various forms depending on what kind of person you are, what kind of job you do, and where you are in your life. Let's look at some of them, starting with asking for a raise at work if you do a regular 9 to 5 job. Talk about your accomplishments and value and get a raise at work. If that doesn't work, consider changing your job. There are plenty of studies that show that regularly changing your jobs can give you a significant pay bump. You can also consider starting a side hustle, something that you really enjoy. For example, you can freelance, consult, tutor, or turn a hobby into a moneymaker. Even with a few $100s a month, you can boost your savings and investments quite a bit. I used to do this quite a lot in the past. I'm a photographer and I used to make quite a bit of money doing this as well. It was fun back in the day, but nowadays I really don't have time for it. There are also other ways that may be applicable to you. For example, renting out a spare room, doing odd jobs or deliveries in your free time, or selling unwanted items online. You could also consider going back to school, getting a master's or a higher degree to increase your earning potential. This is also something that I did. In fact, this is where this whole story and this video started off. At the end of it, this is something you'll always strive for throughout your life. Always try to increase your income as much as possible. You should also try to strike the right balance when it comes to making money, investing, saving, and living your life properly. The next step is quite similar to the first step. We started by doing a financial review, and step number 9 is to track your progress. Remember, what gets measured gets managed, and this is why it's important to track your progress. As you might see in the template that I shared in the beginning, I believe in tracking your net worth because it gives you a true picture of who and where you are. Again, you can use the table I provided, or you can use a spreadsheet, an app, or just a notebook. Just make sure you're tracking it. Trust me, tracking your net worth climbing can be very motivating. It's like fuel to the fire. The thing that we are looking to do here is to make sure that we analyze and reflect and nail down our goals. For example, if you have big goals, break it down into smaller milestones that you can track. Saving your first 5,000, 10,000, 25,000 and more. Hitting a certain retirement account balance. Reaching a specific net worth target. All these can be different goals to be achieved. You should also regularly review your budget and spending. Look for areas to optimize and opportunities to save more. Also make sure that you're checking in on your passive investments and rebalancing as needed. It kind of goes without saying that as you get older, you shift to a more conservative asset allocation to make sure that you're protecting your capital. Yes, it can be a lot to track, but if you're using a simple template as I have shown you, it should be rather easy. But as you're implementing the steps and tracking your progress, make sure you follow step number 10, that is celebrate milestones. Firstly, getting out of debt is very hard. What's even harder is building wealth. So if you achieve any milestones, make sure you are celebrating it at the same time. Whenever you hit a major milestone, do something to reward yourself. For example, paid off your credit card, treat yourself to a nice dinner out. Reach a 100k net worth, take a weekend getaway. Hit 100k invested, plan a longer vacation. Try to make the celebrations meaningful for you. Yes, money is important, savings are important, retirement is important, but living your life is also important. You need to strike the right balance so that you can have fun while doing all of this. Also make sure to share your wins with your partner, family, and friends. Remember, having a support system to cheer you on is powerful. Publicly committing to your goals can help you stay accountable as well. Try to include your partner, friends, and family in your journey as well. Yes, you need to follow these steps. Yes, they are not easy, but you should not drive yourself crazy either. It's also totally okay if you fall off the track once in a while. Just get back on the horse and keep going. This actually brings me to a bonus tip that I wanted to share. That is, have fun and do not give up. The path to financial stability and unfucking your money situation is not an easy one, but you can do it. Here are some quick tips that may be useful for you. Try to gamify your debt payoff or savings goals. Challenge yourself to hit new milestones. And as we discussed, get your partner or family involved for accountability and support. If you have some other people with you on this journey, it's going to be way easier. At the end of it, it's really important to remember why you started all of this. You got this. Stay the course and you'll get there sooner than expected. I've gone through the same journey over the last couple of years, and in another video, maybe I'll tell you more about it. But one thing that I can tell you right now is that I'll be back next week with a new video. Till then, keep learning and stay on top of your finances. Until next time.